Okay, so here we go. My first video shooting with a Sony camera. Hopefully this video is okay and salvageable. Today I want to talk about film photography, specifically film photography for weddings, and sort of my experience with film photography and how I incorporate 35 millimeter and medium format film, and how each of these two formats serves its own unique purpose. So why, as wedding photographers, are we thinking about film photography? Well, obviously film photography has become more and more popular recently, especially in wedding photography, and in certain markets and for certain clients, shooting film is a non-negotiable when it comes to criteria for booking a wedding photographer. For me, film has been extremely inspiring, and it's become sort of my favorite medium to capture images with. It's the process of shooting film, it's the craft of shooting film, it's the end result, it's the physicality of it, the surprise of it. There's so much that goes into shooting film that is interesting and exciting, and I feel like ultimately the aesthetic that I am after can only really be achieved through the medium of analog film. And of course, if film is not something that you are familiar with, it's a long journey and it's an exciting journey, but it can be daunting at the same time, because as you start to learn film photography, you realize that there are so many variables when it comes to creating work. And one of those is the mediums that you choose. So how do I approach medium format film versus 35 millimeter film? For me, medium format film is for portraits and details, primarily at a wedding, while 35 millimeter is for documentary photographs, for candids, for capturing moments. And this is just my opinion. It's how I use the mediums. It's how I approach it. Of course, you could use medium format cameras to capture moments, to be documentary. And of course, you can use 35 millimeter cameras to capture details and portraits. I often will do both with both mediums, but in my mind, the strength of medium format is portraits and details. The strength of 35 millimeter is capturing moments. Hey, it's editor Zach here. And as I was putting this video together, I realized that I completely neglected to mention that another medium format camera that I use often is the Holga 120N, and I pretty much use that exclusively for documentary photographs, mostly with flash on the dance floor. But the Holga, even though it's a medium format camera, is very much a documentary camera for me, and that camera only has 12 frames, and each one really matters, and I have to be really considerate about when I capture a Holga frame. I break the rule, I break my own rules, but that's part of what photography is. It's all about breaking rules. In this video, you'll see a lot of examples of portraits that I captured on my 35 millimeter camera. You'll see examples of documentary photographs that I captured on my Holga, which is technically medium format. Just putting that out there. So just so you know, it's okay to break the rules. That's a lot of what photography is. That's what makes it special. So anyway, continuing on. Now, a big part of why I believe that is because of the equipment that I've sort of landed on when it comes to film photography. My medium format camera is the Contax 645, which is a big camera. It's a slower system, both in shooting and in loading. It creates beautiful, exquisite images. And so I find that that system and medium format film lends itself to a more considered approach when I have more time, when I have more control, when I'm capturing portraits, when I'm capturing details. It creates really, really dreamlike images that are unlike any others. And for my 35 millimeter work, I use the Leica M6. And this camera's small, it's sort of unobtrusive. And even though it's fully mechanical, it still allows me to capture moments really quickly. The Leica system really excels at capturing documentary photographs. That's one of the reasons it's really popular for street photography. It's just a camera that allows you to document life in a really unique way. Now, one thing that's interesting is not only sort of these camera systems and how to use them and sort of what film stocks lend themselves to what photographs, but also thinking about it practically. So on a roll of medium format film, me using the Contax 645, I get 16 frames. So each frame is precious and I have to reload more often and it's slower to reload. Whereas with the Leica, I get 36 frames on a roll of 35 millimeter and it's faster and easier to reload that camera, even though still it's fully mechanical. I also recently did a film cost breakdown for myself and my work where I sort of broke down the cost of a roll of Portra 400 and 35 and 120 from the cost of the film itself to the cost of processing and scanning. Essentially, the cost of a 35 millimeter roll of Portra 400 comes out to $52.40, which is $1.46 per frame. 36 exposures, $1.46 per frame. Whereas with 120 film medium format, a roll of Portra 400, $49.20, which comes out to $3.07 per frame. So not only are medium format images sort of more scarce just by nature of the roll, they're also more expensive. Because that camera also is slower, it lends itself to a slower approach. But I find that it's really well suited sort of just practically for those more considered moments like portraits and details, and less for candids or sort of documentary photographs. Whereas 35 millimeter, you get more frames per roll. Each frame then is less expensive. And so sometimes I'll find myself capturing multiple images of the same moment because there's more flexibility within that medium. There's so much nuance when it comes to film photography, and I feel like I'm always learning and growing, and that's one of the reasons that I love film photography. This is such a craft, and it only improves with time. If you're someone who's interested in adding film photography to your repertoire of work, adding it as an offering for your clients, I would really suggest that you spend time learning a camera system, learning a film medium, and really, really getting to know that medium as well as you possibly can. Bring that with you to shoots, experiment with film, shoot a lot of film for free. It's an investment, but eventually you'll be able to offer film to clients and get paid for that work. But you really need to invest the time and money upfront in educating yourself about the medium. Another thing to consider is that certain events will call for certain mediums. Maybe a wedding really calls for medium format. Maybe a wedding really calls for 35 millimeter. Maybe a wedding calls for digital. It's important to consider the event, the situation, the circumstances, and decide from your experience which medium would be best to best capture the event to your vision, right? Even just knowing when to shoot film and when to shoot digital. A big goal of mine was to incorporate a solid balance of film and digital into my work so that when a client hires me, they know that they're getting my aesthetic, which is a mix of film and digital. And I decide how many rolls to shoot and when to shoot and which mediums to shoot. And this is something that as an artist, I feel really empowered because it allows me to create the best work I can create for my clients who trust me and sort of my aesthetic. Anyway, those are my thoughts about film photography mediums. Let me know what you guys think, which mediums you prefer and why, how you shoot 35, how you shoot 120, which camera systems you're using. I'm really curious to know. By the way, if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.